Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this meeting, this webinar, this follow-up session to the meeting we had last December, follow-up session on the EU-FORA call and the use of the portal for funding and tender opportunities. Will be accompanied today by my colleague Muriel from the Finance Unit and by Dave Bird from the DG Research and Innovation at the Commission. We will start this meeting with a very short introduction of the EU-FORA program for those that were not able to join us last December, followed by some specifications and some specifics on the concrete call that is now ongoing for the selection of fellows and hosting sites. And we will end up with a short demo and short introduction of the portal by Dave. Then we have allowed longer time for questions and answers. So you'll be able to ask all your questions regarding the call, but also on the use of the portal. I will now share my presentation. I hope you can see everything. Okay, so just as a reminder, in case of you're experiencing practical technical issues, please contact our colleague Lucia Dinoy, who is now supporting us from the IT perspective. The event is being recorded and the recording will be made available on the EFSA website. Just as a reminder, the previous recording and questions and answers were already shared and uploaded on the EFSA website alongside the call documents. You can also access them from the portal, the Funding and Opportunities portal. There is a link to the call, and there you can find all this information. The questions and answer box is enabled. We will try to answer as many questions as possible today, now live, but you know that as in the past, all questions will be answered in writing, and the questions and answers will be shared also and uploaded on EFSA's website alongside the call documents. So in order to help us to prioritize the questions to be taken live, but also to avoid duplication of the same questions, can you please use the voting system, so the thumbs up? And this way, we'll be able to group the questions also together when it comes to replying in writing. So this is going to be the content of this short presentation. First, the European Food Risk Assessment EUFORA Fellowship Program, the concrete call, the ongoing call for the selection of hosting sites and fellows for the cycle 2023-2024. Then the Funding and Tender Opportunities portal and the questions and answers. So why EUFORA? Since you are all here and you have joined us in this webinar, I suppose that you are already familiar with the program and you are already interested in the program. But nevertheless, I think it's nice to remember, or it's nice to remind you that EUFORA fits this fellowship program funded by EFSA, fits under the EFSA strategy 2027 under the strategic objective number 2 to ensure preparedness for future risk analysis needs. The program was born under the EFSA strategy 2020 with concrete objectives that we can see on the left side of the slide. But these objectives remain valid, but have evolved into onto more, I would say, onto wider objectives. Now, we don't want only to attract mid-career professionals, but we want to increase the pool of food safety or risk assessment food safety experts in Europe. We don't want only to intensify the exchange and cooperation among organizations and between them and EFSA, but we want to stimulate the member states' involvement in the risk assessment work. And finally, from our harmonizing risk assessment methodologies and practices, we would like to reach the point where we are able to build a common EU culture for risk assessment. This is EUFORA so far. since the beginning, since the first cycle in 2017, we already have 87 alumni members, so 87 fellows that have graduated. They have become alumni, and we can see here on the bottom part of your slide the logo of the EU-FORA Alumni Association. We have 15 ongoing fellows being trained right now in this cycle. Since the beginning of the fellowship, we have collaborated, EFSA has collaborated with 46 different hosting sites in 16 member states and UK, and with over 70 supervisors. So it's a nice community, nice and growing community. How this program works? Well, right now, both organizations, a fellow sending organization that has identified a fellow to be trained, or have an organization that has identified a need for training in their own, within their own or among their own staff, contact a hosting site that is proposing a work program for the fellow to be trained. They both apply in consortium. The fellowship lasts 12 months, so the work program is expected to train the fellow for 12 months, but the vast majority of the training is performed remotely. This has the main objective to allow mid-career professionals to apply for the program and to be trained, because in many occasions they cannot afford leaving the country for 1 year. However, in order to enhance networking, in order to ensure that the objective of learning by doing and hands-on training is met, that the fellow is expected to stay at the hosting site for a period ranging between 3 to 5 months. The training, this hands-on training, this work program is complemented by 7 weeks of complementary training delivered by a contractor, a training contractor hired by EFSA. These 7 weeks are divided into a 3-week induction training happening at EFSA, happening in person at EFSA premises in September, and then followed by 4 one-week training modules. One of them is also expected to happen in person in June the following year. So now I give the floor to my colleague Muriel, who will guide you a little bit into the specifications of this ongoing call. Muriel, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Christina. Can you hear me okay?
You are heard perfectly well.
Okay, thanks. Okay, here we have some information about the call for proposal on the EU-FORA program 2023-2024, as you still have 36 days to submit proposal under this call. So the call was launched on the 8th of November 2022, and the aim is to sign grant agreements for hosting site and up to 15 fellow. So the deadline will be the 15th of March 2023. And a aspect that is important to mention here is that this call is made for mandatory consortium of 2 Article 36 organizations that comes from different member states, Iceland or Norway. The grant duration will be from September 2023 to August 2024, so 12 months, and this including all the training of the fellow until the final report of the work program. Next slide, please. So in this slide, we have some more information about the call. The first one is the hosting site is the leader of the consortium. What does it mean in practice? It means that the hosting site is the applicant responsible to submit the proposal to EFSA on behalf of the consortium. The other entity participating in the consortium is the partner, and the other entity is the organization that sends the fellow to the hosting site. So EFSA will pay the grant amount to the leader of the consortium, so to the hosting site. For each grant agreement, we have 55,000 per consortium per fellow. So this amount needs to be split between the two partners, but it's not the way they split this amount is not prescribed by EFSA. Obviously, the partners needs to cover the cost, for their fellow, for the cost they have in hosting the fellow. But we need to stress another important feature of this grant. That is that no need for this grant to present the incurred cost. This type of grant is called financing not linked to cost. So as long as the work program is implemented and it meets the required quality level set in the call, EFSA will pay the 55K to the consortium leader without the need for them to present justification of the incurred cost, invoices, and financial statement, for example. EFSA is interested in the final output, and so there's no need to submit all this cost justification, like for other grants or as it happened in the past. So the next point is about the work program. The work program, as mentioned by Christina, will be performed remotely. There will be a stay of the fellow at the hosting site for a limited period from 3 to 5 months. But it's very important to note that the fellow remains a staff member of the organizations, as it is the employer of the fellow, so it's the sending institution that pays the salary of the fellow. So no payment should be done from the hosting site to the fellow. The fellow remains a staff member of their own organizations. Okay, the next slide wants to, let's say, highlight an important nuance. Because for the first time, EFSA is using the Funding and Tender Opportunities portal for electronic submission of proposals. So what does it mean? It means that only electronic application using the Funding and Tender portal will be accepted, and hard copy paper application will be refused by EFSA. So how do you do that? To the left of the slide, you see the reference of the call, EUBA-EFSA 2022 NREL 02. Through this reference of the call, you can find in the EU Funding and Tender portal the call. The call is also published as usual in the EFSA website. Yes, thank you, Christina. Go. I still haven't finished that. In the EFSA website, and in the EFSA website, you will be anyway redirectly if you click to the EU Funding and Tenders Opportunity portal, and there you will find all the info how to make your application. This will show you later on in the next presentation by Dave how to access the tool. I also wanted to mention another aspect of the funding and tender opportunities, which is the search for partners. This is a functionality of this EU tool. However, we need to mention that EFSA cannot prevent that organizations that are not part of the Article 36 list register in the search for partner functionality. So if you intend to use this functionality, it's very important that you check that the potential partner organization is included in the Article 36 list. Otherwise, another way to search for partners is to contact your national focal point that will support you in this search. Okay, just to conclude, before I can give the floor to Dave, there was another recording session was held in December, on the 20th of December 2022, to explain the call. A video recording of the session is available on the EFSA website. It's published with the call, so you can listen to that because there is similar to the session that we are giving today. If you need more information about the EUFORA program, you will find it on the EFSA website. There's a dedicated page under the career section about the whole EUFORA program. And if you still have questions and you need, if you have any doubts and you need help, please refer to the 2 email addresses that you find here, EFSA Procurement and EUFORA. We'll try to answer as soon as possible, and we'll make sure that also your answers are published in the EFSA. Your question and our answer are published in the EFSA website. Okay, I think this is all. I can give the floor to Dave. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Do you hear me okay?
Let's try this. Sorry about that. Very good. Okay, so you're an Article 36 organisation, of course, otherwise you wouldn't be here, and you want to apply for this EFSA call. What do you do? First of all, you have to find your way to the Funding and Tenders portal, okay? And you just Google for it. And of course, it's the top hit because so many people use it. You click on that and boom, you're there. You're on the what we call the home page, where you see all of the programs that currently we support and have open calls. Now, the easy way to find the EFSA call is just go into the search and type EFSA, and then it actually comes up with a huge list. But in fact, most of these are irrelevant, and you just need to click get rid of the closed, and then you're left with a much smaller list. And here in second place, you have the NREL call. Okay, maybe I should say I'm going to go fairly quickly today because we already did a presentation before Christmas where I went into quite some depth, and that's still available to stream, I believe, if you want to go into the nitty-gritty. So this is a bit more of a refresh. I'll go fast. I'll just look at the main points, and then I'll be available to answer any questions that you may have. But okay, to apply for the call, you click on the URL there. It takes you into what we call the topic. You scroll down, 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 and then you have the start submission. It was mentioned before about looking for partners. You also have a partner search feature where partners who are looking for partners or want to partner with somebody else can advertise themselves here. Okay, so this is also maybe interesting for some. Okay, I'm not going to go into it now. You can have a play around and a look yourself. And okay, let's go back. So we start submission. You have to click on here. Start submission and say, are you sure? Yes, we're sure. And we're into the create proposal. Okay. One thing I forgot to mention, I was a bit thrown a curveball by the technical issues. Before you do any of this, you need to have an EU login. Okay, so an EU login gives you access to all of the granting tools, and it's the default access both internally in the Commission and externally for applicants. If you don't have an EU login, when you try to apply for a call, it will ask you to create one. Okay, if you do have an EU login, it will ask you to log in. Simple as that. If you have to create one, it will let you continue creating the proposal, and it will send you the email for continuing the EU login registration. So don't worry about that. It's super simple. Now, when you apply for a call, you need to have what's known as a PIC. A PIC is a participant identification code. Your organization probably has one already, so check that. If you're not sure, then you can search for one. If you've already created a proposal in the past for your organization, it will give you a list of the PICs that you've most recently used. So you see here, for instance, I have my test PIC that I use for all the demos and testing the tools. I click on that and it populates the information here. Now let's just say I've not used the tools before and I want to search for a PIC for my organization. I'm the, I don't know, Bulgarian Food Institute. I have no idea if they exist. I do a search on them. Let's see what it comes up with. But it's come up with some stuff. I'm not sure the nuclear research one is the correct one. Maybe one of those is something to do with food. Could be not. But essentially, this is what you do. You search on your organization. You give as much information as you can. It's a Google type search engine that we use. If you know the company number or the VAT number or whatever, you can put that in as well. And it will try and find your pick. Okay, if you really cannot find a pick and you don't think you've got a pick, you can go down here to the bottom of the screen and you can start the registration process. Okay, I'm not going to do that today. It's not the purpose of today's demo, but you can do it and it's very fast. Okay, we ask a minimum amount of information at the creation time. We asked for the in-depth information, so the company's articles, the profit and loss, all this kind of stuff. If you looks like you're going to be going forward to starting the granting process. Okay, so it goes fast. It takes like 5 minutes to create a pick. Obviously, you don't leave it to the last moment, and you don't leave any of this to the last moment. The call's closing in 36 days. Don't wait until day 35 to start, because if you get lost or have any kind of issue, you might not be ready in time. So if you haven't already created a proposal or started the process and you intend to apply for the call, do it now. Do it this week. Don't delay. Okay, that's the biggest message I can give you today. Don't delay. Okay, so I'm going to bomb out of here because I'm going to use my pick just to show you how to create the proposal in the first place. I could use some of the others, but I'm using that one. I'm the main contact person, of course. You need an acronym, how you can identify the proposal going forwards, and a short summary. A short summary is like an abstract that we have in the research world. So it's a 2,000 character high-level description of the project. And that's it. That's all you need to give in the first step to create a proposal. Okay. It will tell you that the organization you've selected will be notified at submission about their involvement in the proposal. That's because we do find some people create proposals on behalf of other organizations when they haven't been given permission. It does happen in the research world from time to time. I guess it's less of an issue with your calls, but nevertheless, we do inform the LIA being the legally appointed representative, which is linked to the PIC, that a proposal has been created and submitted for their organization. Before it creates the draft proposal, it gives a bit of legalese, blah, blah, blah. Read through it once. I'm not going to read through it here. And then you have the option to allow a limited set of data to be visible to the call coordinator prior to the deadline, or to obfuscate that data prior to the call deadline. I recommend that you allow the commission staff to see it. It's a very limited set of data, basically says who has applied and who's in the consortium and their contact details. That's the most important information, and it's very useful for them to determine who has applied, maybe who hasn't, and to organize their work going forwards. Once you click on that, it will create the draft proposal. It's a little bit sleepy today. I think I probably said that last time as well. Maybe it's just the way it is these days. Okay, and now we have a choice. You can continue with the proposal, or you can bomb out and come back to it later. And of course, being an electronic tool, the feature is that it saves your work as you go along. You don't have to put everything in one go and submit it. You can do it over several days, several weeks, several months if you've started early enough. And it's always stored on our servers. The other important message to give here is when you've submitted a proposal, you can then change that proposal and resubmit it again as many times as you like prior to the call deadline. And the commission only ever keeps the last submitted version. Okay, this is very important. So again, if you're thinking, yes, I want to create and submit a proposal, but I'm not ready yet, I need to do a bit more work and blah, blah, blah. That's fine. But if you've already got, for instance, 80% of the content ready, you can already get that in the tool and submit it. So that if something happens where you cannot progress further with it, you've already got a good draft in the tools, which might be good enough to be granted going forwards. So don't hesitate to get that first draft submitted in the tools, okay? And then you can improve on it afterwards. I'm going to bomb out of this and go to what's called My Proposals. So now we're going to go back to the portal, okay? And we've gone to an area called My Proposals. This is an area which becomes available to you when you've logged into the Funding and Tenders portal with your EU login. You see up here on the right, I'm logged in as me. Therefore, I see all the proposals, the draft proposals that I've recently created. Now, here you see I've got quite a lot. Okay, you can see we have the EFSA ones here on the screen by pure luck, actually. If you couldn't see them on the screen, you can filter using this on the top right. So you see I have 3 EFSA proposals, one of which is submitted, and that's from the demo we did last year, and 2 of which are in draft. Now, in order to facilitate the process, I'm going to jump into the ones that I created previously, okay? And first of all, I'm going to look at this draft one. Whoops. I don't know what I did there. Try that again. I'm going to go into this draft proposal here. Okay, and you see it takes us to the the proposal forms part. Okay, I just want to talk around this for the Part B and annexes. So we have a Part A and a Part B. The Part A is like an electronic form where you fill in actual data. The Part B are PDF documents that are uploaded from templates, which are downloaded from here on the left. So when you're in the submission tools, every screen has pretty much the same geography, if you like. So top left, you've got some call data. In the middle, you've got the proposal data. Just below that, you've got the download Part B templates. If you click on this, I won't do it now, but it will download a zip file. And in that zip file, you will have templates that relate to each of these uploadable documents here. So you need to complete those templates offline, save them as PDF, and then upload them. Okay. Below that, you've got support and help desk information. We have an online manual, an IT how-to, an FAQ, and a link to the IT help desk. And then we have the service desk with an email address and a telephone number. The services, this is for technical services. If you have a business question, you should contact the EFSA team via the various channels. But if you have a technical issue, then these are the contacts that you use. Always send a mail, and then always follow up with a phone call. The mail is important because they'll have a registration of that in the tools. So if you're unable to submit by the call deadline, you have a record that you had a problem, and it's more likely to be entertained for a late submission afterwards, okay? If we find there's a problem on our side and rather on your side, which to be honest is quite rare these days as the tools are rather mature. And call them as well. So the staff there have years and years of experience of helping applicants submit their proposals. So they've seen most issues in the past and they can solve things very, very fast. So don't stress if you have an issue, just call them. They're very nice. They're there from 8 in the morning until 8 in the evening on business days. And that's Central European time, so Brussels local time, as we call it. So you do need to upload these annexes. And in the case for this call, there are 5, and each one is mandatory, okay? Now, we don't check what is uploaded. You can upload anything you like, but obviously you want to upload the right document. So the administrative declaration, the declaration on honor of exclusion, the declaration of honor on selection, selection criteria, award criteria. So you basically here click on the upload button, and then it will take you. Now, I'm not set up for this on this Mac, so I'm not going to click on it because it won't give me a document to upload, and I'll have to search for one that was set up on my other laptop. It will take you to your local PC, and then you can upload the document that you've edited and saved as a PDF. If you want to change that document at any moment, you can delete it and upload a new version. And you can also download that document to check that you have uploaded the right version or you have the right version uploaded. Okay, so that's the annexes. And each one of these is mandatory. You see it's red, it's mandatory. You have to supply one, and there's an asterisk. If you have some information that has an asterisk, it's mandatory. If you have missing mandatory information, you will not be able to submit your proposal, okay? So we have mandatory information in the part B, like you have to have a document uploaded. We have some mandatory items in the part A that we'll see in a minute that you have to complete. And we have some in the consortium too. So you have to have a main contact in each of your partners in the consortium. Okay, if you don't, you will be blocked from submitting. And how does that look? If we try to submit this, it's very incomplete proposal. In fact, it's not even going that far. It's saying you haven't even edited your part A form. So you can't submit that. We need a certain level of data to be present in order to submit the proposal. Okay. The other thing you need to do is to work on your consortium. It can be that you're applying as a beneficiary, it can be that you're applying with a partner. So you see here, I have two. I have the coordinator and the partner organization. Okay. If you want to add or change a partner, you just click on Add Partner, and then you have the same pick search that we saw when we created the proposal. So here I have another test pick. I can use that, and it'll immediately prompt for some contact information. So here we have a contact role. So you need a main contact for each of the organizations in the proposal. They will have what we call full access. Okay, and you need to give an email address. Okay, why? Because this person will receive an email on this email address, and it will try to link this email address with an existing EU login account. Then they will be able to get access to the proposal via the Funding and Tenders portal, via the My Proposals tab. So if they are invited like this, they go to the Funding and Tenders portal, they go to the My Proposal, and they will see this proposal and they can access it. Broadly speaking, they can only view it. Okay, they cannot change the consortium. They cannot upload Part B documents. They can, in principle, change a very small part of the organizational data in the Part A, but by and large, that will mostly be done by the coordinating organization or be the person in charge of the proposal. Okay, but it is a semi-collaborative effort, and they will have access to see what has been uploaded. They will see the proposal, which you would consider as normal if you're working in partnership with other organizations. Okay, so we add that contact, and now we have a consortium with one coordinator and two partners. You can also add multiple contacts to an organization. So here we have the main contact and the contact person. Okay, it's myself twice, but with different email addresses. You can only have the same email address once in the whole consortium. And that's about it for partners. And if you want to remove them, you click on the delete participants. And you can also change the pick, change the organization. So if you've added a partner and then you work out, I've added the wrong one, you can click on change organization. It will run you through a process to change the pick without changing the content of the proposal. Okay. I'm going to leave this now and go back to the My Proposals, My Proposals tab. And I'm going to go to the one that I submitted last year. Okay. Why? Because I have more content in it, so things will go faster. So we can look at the participants list here. So in fact, it's the same consortium because they're both my test organizations. Okay. Then we go back to the proposal forms. Okay, so you see in this example, I already have all of my annexes uploaded. Okay, I'm not going to mess with those here. I'm going to leave them as they are. But it's telling me that my proposal contains changes that have not yet been submitted. Okay, so that's important. Remember, I mentioned that we only ever keep the last submitted proposal. So if you do submit and then you do make a change, then this flag will pop up until you resubmit the proposal again. Just to remind you, you've made a change. If you want to submit it, you have to submit it for those changes to be taken into account. In the Commission, we cannot see the draft proposal. We only ever see the submitted proposal after the call deadline. Okay, so this is also an important principle. Now, the Part A administrative form, let's have a look at that. This looks a bit like a PDF form, but it is in fact a normal browser web page. We have general information, participants, and budget. Okay, other questions are not used for this call, so you can ignore that. Let's look at the general information. Okay, so we have the acronym that you put in when you created the proposal, but you can change it here if you wish. You have a proposal title, duration, 3 keywords. I'm not sure people use this particularly. It's not important. The abstract is important. It gives a high-level summary of what the proposal's about for the Commission staff to have a quick look. And then we have you submitted this proposal in the last 2 years? If it's a yes, then you can put the proposal ID. The issue here is the proposal ID is in the format of these tools, so it's 6 digits or 9 digits. If you submitted with another tool or on paper, that's not going to work. So I would propose that you probably click no here, but then if you have submitted it in the last 2 years, mention it in the Part B document. That would be the safer thing to do. Again, I don't know if this is a relevant question for this call. It's a standard question that we have in the Part A. The next important thing we have here are declarations. These are rather high-level boilerplate declarations, one of which is mandatory. Okay, we declare to have the explicit consent of all applicants. Now, you see this has the asterisk, so like I said, it's mandatory. I'm going to uncheck that. Okay, so we can see the behavior of the system. Otherwise, we've completed this general information section. It's very high level information. It's not much. It doesn't take long, but nevertheless, don't leave it until the day of the deadline to complete it. Okay. Then for each of the participating organizations, we need to supply a little bit of information. First, we have the organization data. This is coming from the PIC itself. So when you create the PIC, you enter some information about whether you're a legal person, a public body, non-profit, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. This is retrieved from there. So this is it's a bit of a mess because it's a test PIC and the information is not particularly complete or relevant. But if you do see anything wrong here, you need to go and change it in the participants register where you created your PIC. Okay. So you've got the option to indicate a department. If you're in a large organization, you're a ministry with a lot of different departments, for instance, you might want to put that information here. If you haven't, you can just click not applicable and it's done. And then we have a little bit more main contact person information, which isn't gathered anywhere else. So we add it here. So the person in the organization, again, if they're in a specific department, any change on the address. Okay. And then if you have extra contact persons in the consortium, so if you remember, I had myself indicated twice with a fake email in this case, you can supply a phone number. It's not mandatory, but you can supply one. Then we go to the other partner, and it's the same thing. I'm not going to talk through it. It's very high level information, okay? The budget is the next important thing. It's a bit specific for this call because it's a little bit fixed amount. And I think it's probably already been mentioned, or will be mentioned, or you're probably already aware. We request that the amount of 55,000 euros is only placed in the coordinating organization request. Okay, you leave any partners blank. That's it. That's how you fill your budget in. There's no, it's a binary choice. You have a 55k or not, or you don't create a proposal. So that's nice and simple. And then, as I mentioned, the other questions is not relevant. Now, when you've put all this information in, and you don't have to do it in one go, you can bomb out and save it and come back as many times as you like, remember, and submit as many times as you like prior to deadline. You can validate the form. When you validate the form, it will check for 2 levels of errors: an error where you have mandatory information which is missing, and warnings where you have, well, something may not be quite right, but okay, it's not the end of the world. In this case, we have an error because I unchecked the declaration, if you recall, and we have a warning because the budget on the partner is 0. Now, this warning you can ignore because I've already mentioned you only put the budget on the coordinating organization, but this error will stop you from submitting the proposal. And let me show you how that looks. If I save and exit the form, we will go back to the submission tool. I don't know if it's my network which is slow, but this is a bit sluggish. Here we go. Okay, so we're back in the proposal forms, and I'm going to try and submit. Okay, and it's telling me we have 1 error in the declarations, and that is mandatory. You can click on that hyperlink there on the error itself. It will take you back into the forms. And then you see highlighted in red is the part which is missing. So we check that. We save and exit the form. And now we submit it. It will complain because we have the warning message, but we don't care in this case. Okay. You can give an explanation here, but I think for the purposes of this call, it's not necessary. So we click on OK. And the proposal is resubmitted, not submitted because it was already submitted, it's resubmitted. And that's basically it. In a short while, you'll be able to download a timestamped, digitally signed version of the proposal, okay, which gives you some kind of confidence of what has been submitted. That is digitally sealed. If you edit it, it breaks the seal, so it's not legally binding, but it's indicative of what was submitted and whether it's been tampered with. And what you can do from here, you can go back to update the proposal. You can withdraw the proposal, which is actually what I want to do because I don't want to have this proposal submitted for the call. So I'm going to withdraw it. But if any time I want to unwithdraw that, I can just submit it again and it will flip the status back. Okay. But it may be you've come in and created a proposal and worked on it and you've made a mess and you've submitted it and you think, oh, I want to start from scratch. You can just withdraw it and start again if that's what you prefer to do. So if we go out of there and then we're back in the My Proposals tab, let's do a refresh. Okay, it hasn't caught up yet. It still says it's submitted, but this will change to withdrawn shortly. Okay, so now I have 2 drafts and a withdrawn proposal. You'll also note that the proposal IDs are slightly different. Well, slightly different, very different. When this is what we call a draft proposal ID. So when we first create a proposal, it gives a number like this. When it's submitted, we get a number like that. And that number will be used for the lifetime of the proposal and the project should it get granted going forwards. Okay, that's basically it. The only other thing maybe to mention is if you need any help, there's lots of information here on how to apply for calls. Lots and lots of help. There are support pages as well, so the FAQ, help desk support services, guidance and manuals, loads and loads of information. But to be honest, I think the best way to get familiar with the tools is to use it. Okay, so just go in, create a proposal, and just run with it. It's actually quite intuitive. Like any IT, the first time through, it's horrible and scary, I understand. But after a while, it's not so bad and it's fairly logical, I think. And again, don't forget, create your draft proposal early with plenty of time and submit it with plenty of time. And if you do get stuck, contact the services. I think that's it. If you have any questions, I'm here for you. Very quiet.
Well, the audience cannot talk, so this is why everything is very quiet.
So yes, it's pretty silent. Now we have some questions. We have realized that some of you cannot see the questions and answers box. We are not very sure why this is happening. It seems to be related to the way you have entered the meeting. But in any case, we have enabled the chat, so please feel free to use the chat. We will just copy the questions in the questions and answers box for our own records, because this is the way we will have all the questions together. I think that there might be a question for, I don't know if any more questions coming, but I thought, okay, yes, we have a question regarding who applies to the portal, the host or the fellow. And here we have, I think it has already been replied, but because in our case, the hosting site is the how to say, is the responsible for the application on behalf of the consortium. I'm checking because we have been, okay. We have another question. Are the institutes of the fellows, so what we have called the fellow sending organization, the partner in our case, the participants of this call? So I think you have used the word participants, and this question refers to that.
I'm not sure if the question is clear. Otherwise, maybe we can ask the person to.
So is that a question actually for me? I
Hmm.
mean, a participant is basically somebody who takes part in a proposal.
Yes, I think that the question, yes, it comes because we are using maybe different terms for the similar thing.
It's just a generic, it's a generic term. Yeah.
It's a generic term. In our case, in this concrete call, the leader of the consortium is the hosting site. The partner in the consortium is the fellow sending organization.
Yes, we have similar in research as well. But
yes,
a participant is just somebody who's part of the consortium, either as a coordinator or as a participant. Yeah.
Okay. So we would reply that question in writing. Okay, there is a question for you. I think once you submit, can you update the information and resubmit before the deadline?
You can, yes, you can. You can resubmit as many times as you like before the deadline, yes.
Okay. And I'm trying to see, because Muriel has replied some of the questions that I think that were very concrete for this call.
Probably just worth mentioning about the deadline. It's an electronic tool, and the deadline is absolute and very precise. So the deadline of the call is 1 second, well, it's 5 o'clock. As of 1 second past 5 o'clock, and Brussels time, so Central European time, essentially, the submit button will disappear, or it won't work. Even if you submitted at 5 o'clock on the dot, if your request doesn't hit the European Commission servers in time, you won't get it submitted. So don't be submitting your call at 5 o'clock. Don't do it. Do it 2 or 3 days before at the very latest. Okay? It's the strongest recommendation I can give you.
Yes, it's also it's more than a recommendation. It's like a begging from us. Please don't wait until the very last moment. In the past, some of you are familiar with this call from the past. You could submit, well, the submissions were via postal service or courier service. So the deadline was not so second measured, because as long as the stamp had the date of the deadline, it was okay. So now it's a little bit more dramatic when it comes to the deadline. So please keep this in mind, and also anticipate any questions or issues you may encounter, so they can be solved before the application deadline. I don't know if we have any more questions. I don't see any here. I don't see any more questions. I can ask the audience, maybe, because I don't know if someone is typing, if everything was very clear. In any case, as we said, we will, as we have said before, we will upload the recording as soon as we edit it a little bit, because it will need some editing from the beginning, that we started the meeting a bit earlier, and then we will upload the document with the questions and answers also replied in writing. Oh yes, apologies. Okay. The question was copied has been replied in the questions and answers, and I haven't had time to copy it in the chat. The reply from Muriel is that yes, you can make one PDF of all the documents related to the same annex. You can see a similar clarification, the clarification number 3, published with the call in the EFSA's website. I will copy right now this in the chat so you can also see it. So I think that was the question. Okay, we have another question. Okay. Okay. This question, I think, is I think we need to reply this question from Richard Stefano a little bit with calm. The question is, I don't know if you can see it, Muriel, are third-party private individuals employed by an Article 36 organizations as research service providers eligible to apply as fellows, provided they fulfill with the minimum experience requirements? On top of my head,
Christina, I can see.
Yes. Okay, great.
Yes, they have to be staff, according to the call for proposal, they have to be staff of the sending organizations. So here they're asking if this are third-party private individuals employed by an Article 36 organization as research service provider eligible to apply as fellow, provided that they fulfill the minimum expertise requirement. If they're employed by the organization, but is the organization applying?
The thing is that if I have understood the question well, if we are talking about private individuals, is maybe they are hired as consultants on a basis of a contract, for example. They are not actually hired, or they don't actually have the working relationship or the contract with the organization, but they are contracted as a consultant. I will 1 second see if I can give the floor to Richard, and maybe he can explain what he means because it's going to be a lot easier. I don't know if I can do it. Yes, I can. I think Richard, you can unmute yourself now. You don't have a microphone, okay? But, okay. So can you explain in the chat if this is if we have understood well? Because the fellow needs to have a working relationship on a permanent contract or on a kind of contract like for example a research contract for a PhD or postdoc researcher contract, but not as a consultant. So if someone has a is as a third party here, so the working relationship can be with this university, but also with other universities at the same time. We would need to see the example, I think, more in detail. But my first reaction would be that they don't really fulfill the requirements of employment. Okay. PhD candidates at our university contract, but they do have a contract with the university. They don't have a contract with someone else. So the contract is with the university. Then it is a working relationship with the organization. Yes, exactly. Yes. Then it's not, because I had understood that when they said a private third parties, I understood that it was like a consultancy situation. Then I would say no, but yes, yes, it happens in many places that the type of relationship is yes, is maybe there is a grant given awarded by someone else, but the working relationship is with the university, so they have the contract with them. In any case, we will take the question in writing in due time. Okay, I don't see any more questions.
And Christina, there is another question that I just answered on the question and answer by Francine Alberico.
Yes, and exactly. So since indeed, as Muriel has clearly indicated in the reply, the partner search feature in the portal cannot prevent non-Article 36 organizations to publish or to post a search for partners. This can be a bit confusing. We are aware of this, so we kindly ask you to contact your national focal point, because they can really support you in searching for partners. I'm going to, for those of you that maybe are not fully familiar with with representatives of member states or EFSA representatives, I will copy in the chat the link to the EFSA's website, where you can find the list of focal points. And you only need to scroll down. So I'm going to copy it in the chat, which is apparently available for everyone, and everyone can see it. And please contact your national focal point and let them know that you're interested in this call and you are searching for a partner, and they will support you. So that's an additional way of searching for a partner. I don't see any more questions.
No, me neither.
Okay. So I think that with this, maybe we can conclude. We, in any case, would remain available in any of the two email addresses that we have indicated before. So the EFSA procurement and the EUFORA email address. So should you have any questions, just please drop us an email and we will take care of that. Remember also that if the question refers directly to the call, we have a legal deadline for replying these questions in the form of clarifications. All the information is on the first page of the call for proposals and guide for applicants. So and again, so all the information will be uploaded soon on our website as soon as we have time to edit the video and reply the questions in writing. And so just keep calm, contact your focal points if needed, contact us, and don't wait until the very last moment to apply. And thank you for joining us. And we really hope this was useful for everyone. And thank you, Dave, for joining us again, for your very useful presentation and
You're welcome.
support. So thank you, everyone, and have a nice day.